Welcome back to the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht, and today's guest is Victoria Gallagher, author of Practical Law of Attraction. And I think there's a whole subtitle in there. Victoria, you can share that with me. I'm super excited to talk about this book and the power of manifesting. Victoria, tell me a little bit about why you wrote this book and what you wanted to share with the world with this message.
Thank you so much for having me as your guest. I'm really excited to be here and to share all of this. So it was align yourself with the manifesting conditions to successfully attract your desires. And the reason I wrote it, so I was in a at a point where I'm a hypnotherapist and I'm a part of a big hypnosis community. And I speak at a lot of hypnosis conferences. And my thing, that everybody has their own little niche. My thing for the longest time was manifesting and the law of attraction. And I put a lot of videos out there. I talked a lot about it, but I just was just talking about ideas. Like I didn't have a structure from which I would teach. And so I was asked to put together like a certification training for hypnotherapists. And I'm like, I don't even have a curriculum. I just speak from my heart. I go with the lessons of what's been working for me in my life because I've been using it my whole life. And so I said, maybe it's that a lot of people had been saying, you should write a book, you should write a book. And writing a book before you actually embark on that process just seemed daunting. And it seemed like something like, I don't have time to sit down and write a whole freaking book. And
Yeah.
I never really saw myself actually writing a book or finishing it. It just seemed overwhelming. Anyway, when this opportunity came, I said, maybe it's time to go ahead and write that book. And so within probably 9 months after that, the book was born. And when I decided during the time that I wrote it, I'm like, I'm not just going to write a book. I'm writing a book about the law of attraction. So I need to do something a little special in the book to I need to have an intention for the book. And I'm like, I'm going to write a number one best-selling book. And not only that, what are all the ingredients in creating a number one bestseller? So I managed to attract the amazing foreword by Michael Lozier, who, he's also a best-selling author. I managed to get Joe Vitale from The Secret and Bob Doyle and some bigger names to
Yeah.
endorse my book. And so all of these things were just ideas that I had in my mind. But the whole point in the book itself was that it's the reason why it's called practical is because there's so much woo information out there about law of attraction. And I would say 90% of it's woo, but I don't, I mean, 90% of it's practical and like maybe 10% of it is woo.
Okay.
Most of the stuff that you will read about in my book really brings it down to common sense. It really is just common sense things. If you just continue to stay focused on your goals, you will
Yeah.
eventually
Yeah.
you'll eventually reach them. But it's obviously a little bit more than that. But I just really wanted people to understand it's like we are always using the law of attraction. We just don't realize it. Same ways we're always hypnotizing ourselves, but we just don't realize it. So I just wanted to bring the two together.
Nice, nice. I mentioned before we started recording that I was very excited to talk about this. I feel like manifesting has been like a theme in my life over the last couple of months. Yeah, a couple of months, I would say. So I went to a women's retreat a few weeks ago, and the theme of the retreat was manifesting. Yeah. So Sandy Gerber, I'm going to name drop here because I did an episode with her. She was one of the first episodes on my podcast. So for anyone listening or watching, if you're interested in Sandy, her retreats, some of the work she does, you can go back and listen to one of the earlier episodes. But anyway, Sandy Gerber, she did this women's retreat and she focused on manifesting. She did a workshop during the retreat, and then she had an extra workshop you could go to after, and I did that. And then she did a more bigger program after. I didn't sign up for that bigger program, but I did the other pieces with her, and I felt it was really great. I left it just, I love this, and I want to like learn more about this. Then I have an author power circle. I have this group of women who we meet every week, and it's all women who are writing books. We've it's a great community, and for some reason a few weeks ago one of the members brought up manifesting, and she was like, it was like, I just want to talk about this for a minute. She brought it up, and we spent the whole hour talking about
Oh,
manifesting, and we all and I told everyone, get out a piece of paper, and like we were writing down what we wanted to manifest. And she suggested the book The Richest Man in Babylon is
oh
the book. I
yeah.
have
Uh-huh.
not read it yet,
Classic.
but she was in the middle of reading that for a book club and then talking about manifesting and how big that has been for her. Anyway, so I love the idea of it. I also am I just have this like feeling of I want to invite that into my the what Sandy talks about is it's a feeling you're
Mhm.
manifesting, not I want to be successful or I want $1 million, but it's to focus on the feeling. She went through this whole thing. It was really this whole exercise. It was great. But yeah, I just struggle with actual like the practical, what do you do every day to manifest? So I'd love to hear like your tips and advice around that and just how do you practice this in your life, that law of attraction and attracting to your life those things that you're really wanting to accomplish or those things that you want to bring to fruition.
Yeah,
So, yeah, what
absolutely.
tips do you have for somebody like me who's like interested but can't quite figure out like how do I actually do this?
Yeah, that's such a great question because, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book is to give people that how to, a real step-by-step process and what you do each day. And the first thing, it really starts with knowing what you want. And I think so many people, they start with a very kind of flippant idea about what they want, and then they'll maybe try to think positive or try to visualize or just haphazardly decide that okay, I want a new car, I want a new house, or I want to make more money in my business or whatever it is, and but then they won't stick with it. And so what that tells me is they don't really actually want that. That's not even, they're just trying something out. They're just dipping their toe in. And this isn't like really something you can dip your toe into. It really is a lifestyle. It really is, in my opinion, it's like taking responsibility for creating whatever life you want to have and committing to it and being disciplined. And the tips are starting with like really getting very clear about and intentional about what it is that you want your life ultimately to look like. And I love what you talked about with Sandy Gerber with the feeling, because so much of it does really come down to that. Knowing what you want is part of it, but why do you actually want that is actually bigger part. There's what, why, and how. And then
Hmm.
there's the who, because the who is who's going to help me with this. There's always one thing people don't realize. There's always a who involved in whatever it is that you're manifesting, whether it's I want more clients, okay? Who? I want to attract the love of my life. Who? I want a new business. Who? And so there's always a who as
Wait,
well.
okay, so I want to stop you there and ask. So when you're saying who, you're saying to, because I want to meet the love of my life, who I don't know who it is, right? But you're saying like maybe define what that person looks like, or not maybe not looks like, but like the qualities of that person that you want to find who you think that is going to be the love of your life. Like when I meet this person who is X, Y, and Z, like that is the person that I want to fall in love with.
Absolutely. And I actually did that. The man that I just celebrated my 17-year wedding anniversary with, May 24th, he came into my life at a time where I was literally listening to my own session called Attract Your Soulmate. And that was like part one of the story. But then fast forward to a few years later, we fell apart. And so I manifested us back together again and eventually married. But it was interesting because it all came together when he told me that he didn't ever see us getting married. And I detached because I think that's like another part of manifesting is like letting it go and trusting that the universe has something even better in store for you. So I took that as a message that, okay, the universe has something even better in store for us. So I let him go. And I really defined who do I really want to be married to. And I wrote down all the qualities, how he looked, all of the things. And lo and behold, it actually did turn out to be him. I just was willing to allow it to be anyone. And I mean, he literally had every single quality. And I turned that into my, like, at the time it was Match.com profile. And there was no Tinder, there was none of that back then. And so I got very specific about that person. And you have like in your brain, you have this little honing device, and it's the reticular activating system, which really just weeds out everything else that you're not focused on, everything that you don't believe, and it just really has you seeing the things show up in your life that are in alignment and that are a match for whatever it is that you're constantly thinking about. So, and it works both ways. It works for the positive things, but it also works for the negative things. So when, people are saying, I only attract men that have that are going to cheat on me, or all men are mean or abusive or whatever it is, when they constantly complain about how bad it is, guess what? They end up just seeing people that are going to treat them that way that lines up with their belief system. And being a hypnotherapist, so much of this also revolves around your belief system, your limiting beliefs, and whatever it is that your subconscious mind believes, which is like 90% of your mind, is typically you filter out everything else besides whatever your subconscious mind believes. So I know I really went astray from what are the tips that we can use. So going back to the tips, again, it's about getting clear, but it's also like noticing when you're talking about something, like I was mentioning, oh, all men are rats or whatever, or yeah, I never have enough money to pay the bills, or I'm always 10 pounds overweight, or whatever it is, you want to
Hmm.
notice those conversations that you're having. You want to get in
Sure.
the habit of picking up on your constant dominant thoughts and say, what do I really want instead? And catch yourself and turn those into what you want instead. And you're going to
Mhm.
eventually start to reprogram what you're attracting into your life.
How much of that is like the power of just like positivity? And I don't know anything about any of this. I've read that before that like when you're constantly thinking that bad things are going to happen, you're like inviting that. But just because you have a positive outlook or aren't thinking of bad things happening doesn't mean that they're not gonna happen, right? Like they're gonna happen, but then it's about how you take that moment and what you do with it. I don't know. It's like bad things happen to everyone, right? But if you focus on it and like you're the victim, I'll give this example. It's not the best example. I lost my job last year and started a company, right? But early on, I was noticing I was really aware of the things I was seeing on LinkedIn, and so, like, here I am in these early days. and like navigating this new reality that was really strange to me. And I had never started my own company before. So like there's a lot of fear and a lot of stress and all of this stuff going on, but I just continued to keep a positive mindset. Even if I didn't feel that way 100% of the time, it was what was coming out of me. If I was talking to, I was able to hire some people. So when I was talking to them, I was always going to be positive. When I was talking to on podcasts, I was always going to be positive. Again, I didn't always feel that way 100%, but it was how I talked about things and how it was like I wanted to see the positive. But I mentioned the things I was seeing on LinkedIn. At that time, I really remember seeing some posts where people were like, I have been unemployed for 734 days and nobody is hiring me and here's my situation, whatever. And I was seeing, I don't see those posts anymore, but like during that time, I was seeing a bunch of posts like that where it was like these people who were just desperate to find something. They were leading with their fear and their anxiety and those things. And I was going like, why don't you just start your own business? Like, why don't you just, not that that's like the easiest thing, but that was what I did because I was like, I am not going to be that person
Yeah.
734 days from now. It's not an option. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. So like part of me is it I don't know if that was manifesting that I was doing like without, but like I was just seeing the way that people would treat themselves or talk about themselves as a victim of their circumstances. And that to me was just something I was not going to do. So anyway, I like totally like side note there, but I'm just like what is the difference between that, like the manifesting versus the power positivity? I come from a Christian family background and so to me, I almost think it's like it's like that version of like prayer.
Hmm.
It's your Christians are praying to get their minds in the right place and to be positive. And so like all of those things like seem very similar to me. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but what do you make of any of that that just came out of me, Victoria?
No, you're 100% right. And as I started out saying, it's very much like common sense. So once you start like learning how law of attraction works, you realize that this is really just common sense. It is very much like around positive thinking, except for it's a little deeper than that. That's the rub. You can't just do it once. Like it has to become a way of life to where it's not just like a surface level thinking, but it's more like a deeply ingrained belief system that you act from. And most
Yeah.
people like that start with the law of attraction, if they had a dominant way of thinking that was negative, like they had the victimy idea about themselves, they might actually just continue manifesting the same thing because they don't really believe it. They're just a little bit like, oh, they try positive thinking and then they'll do a little positive thinking, write down some affirmations, say a few things, and then they'll go right back to how they are. So it's really the only difference, I think, between what you're talking about, just the positive thinking and manifesting, is that you don't really attract what you want. You attract who you are. You attract
Mm,
how you're being. And so it's beyond positive thinking is a little bit more surface level. Manifesting is a little bit more like it's who you are. And so you could not, once you realize, oh, I'm going to not necessarily feel like this every day, but I'm going to train myself to to be a certain way each day, whether it's the people that I'm hiring or whether it's the things that I need to do in order to make this business work. You decided to become a person who's a business owner and a
mm,
successful business owner at that, instead of just saying, let me just give this a try and let me just
mm,
see. You became it. You decided it's non-negotiable. And
mm,
so that takes it to a whole another level. And so that's what you did. You did manifest the success that you have. I feel like manifesting is really just saying, it's really saying I create my own life. And we are manifesting anyway, but doing it intentionally is saying I'm going to choose my thoughts, I'm going to choose my feelings, I'm going to choose my actions, I'm going to choose what I choose to tune into, like how the LinkedIn messages changed. Those messages, I'm sure they're out there. You're just not tuned into them anymore. And at one point, maybe you were flirting with those messages, but eventually, the social media is a perfect example of how law of attraction
Mhm.
works. Because whatever you tune into on social
It's
media,
what you get more of.
react, you comment. People like, oh, I hate Facebook. It's not Facebook because every single thing that's on your feed is there because you chose it to be there.
I love that you just said that because I have always loved social media and I've always been like an early adopter of any social media platform that comes out. I love it. And in my community of my author community, they're all very anti-social media, which that's fine. Don't be on it. I don't care, but I'm not going to feel bad that I do like it. But anyways, that's a really funny statement. I'll tell them, don't listen to that. Don't listen to Victoria there. But it's true. I think a lot of times, like what people don't like on social media is the fakeness that happens. The my life is perfect. You're just getting the highlight reel and not the
Oh,
real
yeah.
stuff. And which I understand all of that. But like you said, then unfollow those people, or like you do have control over it.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah, you
thing is
get to
people just get
unfollow. I decided recently, as you're the first person I'm sharing this with, you know how like they say that you're the combination of your five closest friends or whatever. I figured
mm,
where I want to elevate my life to also has to do with the social media that I follow, right? And I decided I haven't completely committed to this, but I want to unfollow or unfriend 4 or 5 people a day and follow and friend another 4 or 5 people, but intentionally people who are where I aspire to be. And that way,
mm,
so I'm making room because I'm at that 5,000 level. So it's like I'm making room now for that growth and going to that people who are 7, 8, 9 figure earners. I want to aspire to be like them or people who, just whatever. It's not necessarily that, but people who have the body that I want or people who have the lifestyle that I want. They travel all over the place. And I don't get jealous by those things. Those things inspire me. Those things
yeah,
tell me what's possible. And
yeah,
it's like there, yeah, like when you go down, I live in Phoenix, and I mean, we just in Scottsdale, it is incredible the crazy amount of wealth that is in Scottsdale.
yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
like, it just really makes you feel like we really do live in an abundant universe, and people are choosing their reality all the time. And again, it's about what you're tuned into.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that for a couple of reasons, but my husband just said to me yesterday, the quote, he had heard from somebody that you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's perfect.
yeah, and that made me think of that quote. It's so true. It's like you do have the ability to control that. And I've been thinking about that too, is like the people that like you aspire to be. That was another thing that I noticed when I started my business is I was really interested in networking groups. So I'd go to these networking groups and then some of them I'd sit there and I'm like, huh, most of these people are making less money than I'm making right now. And I just started my business like 2 months ago. And I was like, I don't know that these are the people that I want to be around. Nothing wrong with them, but it was
No,
more like I want to be in a room with $1 million business owners, $5 million business owners, whatever, because then I see them and what they're doing, and makes me want to aspire to be there and not just be in this place of this is all we can do, this is all we can handle. Like, no, I want to see myself as, and you were saying, like I think I saw that really early on. Like I wanted to see myself as I am a business owner. I have people that work for me. It felt weird to me at first to say, oh, my assistant will, I think I said that to you actually before I was like, oh, my assistant will send you something. That felt really weird to me. And that now I'm like, own it. It's okay. You can have employees and you can talk about it. I don't know. It's your mindset around it and how you see yourself. Okay, so we are getting close on time, but what's one practical tip though for somebody like me I want to do this better. What is something I should be doing every day to practice that manifesting and to really get my head in that space?
I'm gonna say it's more than just one thing. So I'm gonna call it, I'm gonna label it, have a like a daily routine. And for me, it's a morning routine. For some people, it might be an evening routine, but have a non-negotiable period of time where you do the following. And I'm going to say the three things that I do that have really increased where like everything in my life
Yeah.
is time for to work on your mindset. And even if you only just take 5 or 10 minutes just to tune in, get silent, visualize, just do that mindset work. It's the most important work you'll ever do in your life because when you have control over your mind and the thoughts that you think, you basically have control over everything. So that's doing the mindset work for make it non-negotiable, 5, 10 minutes minimum. Do some intentional writing. And writing to me just really helps you to grow. It really helps you to focus. And it really, there's something magical, I think, when you take your thoughts and you put them into writing. Just for me, something takes over and it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel like these things are really going to happen, really going to come true. And then you can actually look back a year from now, 2 years from now, you can look back and you're like, see how far you've come. And the other thing that I do during that time is read something, learn something. When I say read, sometimes for me, it is just watching a YouTube video because we can learn. Now, we are here to talk about books. Reading something definitely that keeps your mind strong, again, it's working on your mindset. It's learning something. So, some kind of learning. If you just feel lazy for a day, you don't feel like, I don't, for me, sometimes it's hard during my morning time to read. I will at least, at minimum, watch an educational video or watch something as like in some kind of course that I'm taking. So those three things, that routine to me are going to really help you to stay focused and on your goals, your dreams, believe in yourself, do whatever it takes, surround yourself with positive people, listen to hypnosis. I have an app, Believe, that helps you to believe in your dreams. Just do something each day that's going to continue to condition your mind to believe in your dreams because everything that you want is absolutely possible. It's just, you're no different than Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or anybody else who became super, super successful. The only difference is they believed and they kept doing it. They achieved their goals. And anybody, any of us can do that.
Love it. Victoria, we'll link to your book in the show notes. And also
Okay.
you mentioned your app. So we'll link to the Believe app. Anything else that we should include to help readers connect or readers, listeners, readers as well, those who are going to read your book, but listeners connect with you and find out more about what you're doing?
Sure. They can connect with me on my website, victoriamgallagher.com. Besides, I am a content creator. I just love create the books, the apps. I have over 1,000 hypnosis sessions, but also a course creator. I've created over 20 different online training courses. So I just love this stuff and I keep doing it. And so you can find all of that at my website, victoriamgallagher.com.
Great. Thank you. We didn't even get into hypnosis. I feel like we could have a whole other podcast episode and talk about other things and all your other books because you have several others that are out there. Maybe we'll have you back at some point, Victoria. So thank
That
you so
would be
much for coming
lovely.
on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. It's been a fun conversation. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyshuckneck.com.